ready?
I'm ready. No, still ready. Go, go, go!
Hey everyone, how's it going? This is the Go 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 podcast. It's been a while for us to come back. We've been busy, but hey Mark, how are you?
Good, man. Excellent.
Great, man. I know it's been a while. We started this venture about a year ago. Actually, it's been about a year ago. And we did a couple episodes, got the feel for it. You know, as anything, life gets in the way, but we're back and, you know, we're hoping to be able to do this for the foreseeable future. Right, Mark?
Absolutely. Whenever you're ready to do them, I'm ready to do them.
Perfect. I love it. And see, this is why Mark and I get along pretty well. You know, not only have we raced together, but we watch races, we talk about racing. Our life is just really about racing, right? And so,
Yeah,
you know,
that's all of our phone calls.
that's basically what our phone calls are about. So, without further ado, let's talk about this year, Mark, and what's going on in the different series. I'm just going to go out and say it. This year, it just seems as the year of the new car. There's a new car in NASCAR. There's a new car in the WRC, and then there's a new car in Formula One. Do you think this was a coincidence, or you know what's going on out there with this, Mark?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Well, there's also a rumor there's going to be a new car in Nitro Rallycross too. So it's just a year of a whole bunch of new stuff coming out.
That is very true. And so, like for anyone that's been following us, you know that Mark and I are huge NASCAR fans. But we don't just follow NASCAR; we follow other types of racing as well. And so, we definitely want to talk about the year that has started. You know, the year started with that car. And that was great. NASCAR Latifi got the win. Toyota got a win in the column. Fantastic race. For those of you who don't know much about it, definitely go Google it. I wish there was a lot more American participation, at least at the highest tier. We used to have Robbie Gordon. I wish he could come back or someone else take his place. But I think it's something that America should get involved a little bit more on that. But then when we come back to the States, Mark, the actual first race of the season, at least the first one that counts in my mind, is IMSA, the 24 Hours of Daytona. I mean, that's usually what I think about. And usually it falls on my birthday. So it's something fun for me. So Mark, when I say 24 Hours of Daytona, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think of Rolexes, of course, because they're the main sponsor. And of course, I think of the Corvettes because I've been a Corvette guy for, I'm going to say 99% of my life because of my dad. So yeah, whenever I think of the IMSA race going on, Rolex 24, I think, where are the Corvettes running?
That's right, Mark. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about that lineage, about your dad and your family working with GM?
So my dad worked for GM as long as I can remember. I'm not really sure what year he started, but I know that he was fresh out of high school, went to Oklahoma, you know, got trained by General Motors to be one of their techs, worked for Buick for a while, and then went over to Chevrolet in Wilmington. So he that's all I know.
And that's a pretty good story because as we look at the history of NASCAR, you know, there's people that are very specific manufacturer loyal, right? We have people that are driver loyalists, but we have people that are manufacturer loyalists. And so there's deep roots, whether it's Chevy, Toyota, Dodge, when Dodge was out there, whatever the manufacturer is, people have very close feelings to their heart about what they like. And so in your case, you have a reason for liking Chevy, right? And so that's great. That's great to be able to follow them. So, I mean, with that said, I can tell you, Mark, you know, I spoke with you this year and I had the opportunity to go with my brother to the 24 Hours of Daytona. So just wanted to share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So, you know, it's for those of you who don't know, the 24 Hours of Daytona, very similar to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You have cars racing out there for 24 hours straight, which I still to this day think it's an incredible feat because think about it. You know, we drive our car to work, maybe go to do something recreational, go to the gym, go to the beach. And you know what, you know, our drives don't last more than half an hour of that, unless you're doing a long trip. But these guys
nowhere near as intense.
Nowhere near as intense. And these guys are running for 24 hours flat out. So there's a lot of time to do something wrong, whether it's mechanical fatigue or whether it's personal fatigue. You know, anything can go wrong. Now I'll tell you,
Anthony, Mark. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Have you ever been like super late for work one day and you're just driving the crap out of your car? Right. You just
right?
those guys are doing it for 24
For
hours in
24
shifts.
hours in shifts. But it's still
Insane.
intense. I mean, it's still intense because here's the thing: when you're driving somewhere and you're late, you're aware that there's laws out there, and you're aware that you don't want to get in an accident. But you're like grabbing onto that steering wheel, trying to go left and right. And these guys are doing that for 24 hours. That's it, white knuckle racing.
Mm-hmm.
You just reminded me of cousin Carl. He used to have those white gloves in the race car, and you can see him all the time. And that's actually why I like white gloves. I think it looks pretty cool in a race car. But so to finish with the Daytona 24, I'll tell you this: I got cheated this year, Mark. Do you know how I got cheated at the 24?
I'm not sure.
So when you think about going to sunny Miami, sunny Florida, well, this is Daytona technically. You're expecting to go out there 70 degrees, 80 degrees, 90 degrees. Mark, we had to watch the race in 30-degree weather, man. 30 degrees.
Dude.
I'm like, we were not prepared. We didn't have the proper clothing. We had to go out and buy blankets. That's freaking cold it was.
Yeah.
So
I would have done that for sure.
The experience was nice. The cars were nice. Everything was fast. But at the end of the day, Acura won. Elio Castroneves, he actually won the Daytona 500, or not the Daytona, the Indianapolis 500 last year, and he gets to win a 24-hour race, and now he has a full-time ride. So congrats to that guy. Chevy, I'll touch on Chevy because of you, Mark. They didn't do that well this year, and I know that they had some mechanical issues and whatnot, things that happen in a 24-hour race, but they ended in a top 10 spot, and so you don't lose the championship in the first race. We have Sebring coming up next week, and so we'll see what Team Chevy can do, but they're usually a strong contender there. So I mean that's as far as the IMSA 24 Hours of Daytona goes. But Mark, now let me tell you, and you can take the lead on this. Did you watch the Daytona 500?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely was super excited for Daytona this year with the new car, getting to see all the new challenges that everybody's facing, not just the drivers. It's the crews. It's a whole new deal. It's been
actually time out, Mark. I think I got ahead of myself. We got to rewind a little bit this year. Did you watch the race at the Coliseum? Because that was truly the first NASCAR race with the next gen car.
Absolutely. I did watch that too, and I'm glad you brought that up. I totally forgot about the Coliseum race.
So give me your opinions on that.
Coliseum race was interesting. Like I think the first round they did, I think people were kind of trying to get used to what they were running, trying to get used to the setup, and it's a whole new deal. And then like about the second, third, fourth running, it's like these guys are really not playing games with these cars. They're like, okay, well, we can really open them up, and it actually was some pretty good racing.
No, I was intrigued. I wasn't sure how it was going to happen. I mean, we're talking about a place smaller than Bristol, smaller than Martinsville, with all those cars packed in there. But you know what? It served a purpose. They went to a new market. People came out to watch the race, and it was interesting. I mean, let me ask you this question. Would you want this race to be part of a regular season race and not just a exhibition race? Would you be for or against that?
I don't know. I'd have to see how another event of this style would go.
Right.
I think that as an exhibition race, it was very interesting to see, very different than we're seeing. Everyone's been saying, we need more short tracks, and then they get to a short track, and it's kind of a little bit different than we've been seeing here over the last, 15, 20 years.
It was very flat.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely flat. The track, they're running 16 seconds, 15 seconds a lap. I think Jamie McMurray ran a lap around there in a minute on foot. So
60 seconds. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's feasible to do more events like this, but I think I would want to see it done one or two, maybe three more times before they're like, oh, you know what? We're going to do like 3 or 4 of these in a season. And they're like, whoa, what? Okay. Check that out. Yeah.
And I can tell you, it was all of a race of attrition. There was a lot of crashes. There's a lot of animosity. I forget who, I think 42, is that Tyler Reddick, number 42? I think it is.
Tyler Reddick, number 8.
Number 8. Who's number 42?
Number 8. I'm not sure who's running the 42.
Whoever number 42 was, he was running through everyone. He thought he was running a John Deere freaking tractor. bulldozing everyone out of the way. I thought that was actually funny. And then he got disqualified from going into the main event. But let me ask you this, and this is maybe a non-traditional question. This race actually also served as the first time to hear Tony Stewart as an analyst on the desk. How did you feel about Smoke, talking about the race and giving his point of view?
I love him. He's just as real as it gets all the time. So I was happy that he was there.
Dude, Smoke is the greatest. And then also having Boyer up there, I think that collaboration was pretty good. And I think for the true diehard NASCAR fan, seeing that combination up there was a real treat for us.
I think Clint Boyer is the best thing that's happened to Fox NASCAR in a while.
Man, I can't tell you. I wish, like, Clint Boyer is the type of guy you want to have a beer with on a Friday afternoon after work.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Maybe someday we can do that, but we'll see. I like Clint. He's definitely good for the sport. He's definitely good on the desk. And I mean, while Jeff Gordon was good and he got a promotion, he got a better job over at Hendrick, I think that this combination right now does us justice. And I think at the second half of the year, that's when Junior comes back into the booth. And so we kind of get a mix of different personalities and stuff. And so I can say I definitely like that.
Well, let's not forget about Mike Joy. I mean, he's been in the Fox booth forever. Sure. And when I think about NASCAR and Daytona and the first race of the year, that's what I'm looking forward to. We got Mike Joy in the booth, and then now we got Clint Boyer as well. So I love that dynamic. You always want to hear Mike Joy in the booth. I don't know how much longer he's going to do it, but I'm for it. Come on, just stay forever.
No, I agree with you. And his voice is kind of iconic. And I know he does a little bit of football too, because I know I've switched channels and, during football season, I hear him there and I'm like, wait, you don't belong here. You're the voice of NASCAR. What are you doing over here? But the man's got to get paid.
You watch Barrett Jackson sometimes. He's narrating Barrett Jackson. Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I've flipped the channels through Barrett Jackson, but I can't watch that. That's not my forte.
Oh my gosh.
No,
that's for me. No. You get all them classic cars there. I love it.
Yeah. But so Mark, let's get a little bit more into the I asked you about the 500, then I interrupted you. We went back to the Coliseum. Let's go back to the 500. It's the debut of the new car. It's a speedway, what used to be called the restrictor plate race. We know that this race is a little different than any of the other races NASCAR has. Literally everyone has a chance to win this race, but there was a lot of question marks up in the air with this new car. So give me your perspective of how you thought the new car handled, how you thought the new car was as a whole at this super speedway.
I think that the car is performing. It's okay. I think they've got a lot of bugs to work out still. I don't think that they're 100% on the new format yet. One of the things that I'm noting at every track, not just Daytona in general, is they're having tire issues like crazy. The cars are sliding all over the place. Tire wear is a big concern with the new bigger wheels, and the lug nuts. The single lug nut has been a major issue for these guys. Whether it's not going on, it's not seating properly. We've got wheels falling off. Daytona is a big example of
Mayweather's car.
Off. Oh my God.
The money team racing, man. We got the money team in NASCAR now. But let me ask you, Mark. So let me, if my math's correct, and I'm only a finance guy for a living, but so we used to have 5 lug nuts, and these guys were really good. They go boom, 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 make the changes. Usually we had safe tires. NASCAR even instituted a rule that, all your lug nuts had to be in, otherwise you had a penalty. So how do we go from doing 5 lug nuts and barely having issues to 1 lug nut, and now we're having issues? My math doesn't really compute there.
I've asked the same question too, so I'm not really sure what the idea was. I think that they figured, pit stops will be faster. We can have a lighter designed wheel. So
Mark, it's one of those things. Here's where I actually have a pet peeve remark over this single lug nut. So here's the thing, right? Single lug nut, you assume faster pit stop. But
sure.
You know what hasn't changed? The amount of time it takes fuel to go into the car hasn't changed. So it doesn't matter if you finish doing all 4 of your wheels, you still have to wait for the gas man. I think that was a fail in NASCAR's part, and I think they should have done something to maybe make the fuel go in through harder pressure to match up the time of the changing of the lug nut. Because otherwise, what's the point? you might as well still be doing 5 if it still takes the same time. But that's just my point of view. What say you?
I think that the biggest difference is the pit stop only taking about, I think they were doing the math. It was like between 2 and 3 seconds. And then you're right. If that is the case and the fuel guy's standing there still putting fuel in the car, well, maybe they're not getting as much fuel into the car. Maybe they're expecting, okay, now we've got a short run to deal with because we couldn't get all the fuel in the car that we wanted to. So I think that definitely is going to play into some strategy. And I don't know how much more efficient this new car is on fuel than the old car. The old car is sat even lower to the ground than the car that we have now. It's supposed to be more of a stock setup, I would say.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's a new strategy thing that maybe they're still kind of figuring out. I know there was a lot of testing in the off season, but that's another thing that you're going to have to play into a strategy. Like today was a big strategy thing with tires. They were having all these issues with tires going down and wearing out really quickly.
Right.
And some guys were worried they were going to run out of sets. There's just so much with this new car that's the variables that are unknown, and I think it's making for good racing.
It is making for good race. I mean, let me tell you this, Mark. The new car, it looks beautiful. If their goal was to get back to what stock cars look like, they've done a magnificent job of that. But there's there's always been a lot of rumors. The drivers had an issue with the steering box not being able to turn the wheels as hard, with the car getting really hot inside. I don't know if they've already taken steps to correct this, but this was a lot of the complaints through preseason testing. But here's another question that I posed to you, Mark. The next gen car was actually supposed to debut the last year, but due to COVID, they extended it to this year. Now that we see all these issues that are happening, whether it be with the tires, or today we had issues with that people had issues with transmissions and not be able to click into different gears. Was the next gen car pushed too quickly? Should there have been more R&D? Or is this just a matter of, hey, the new car's here and everyone's just trying to adapt?
So, yeah, I think with it being pushed back a year, I feel like the guys, what I really wish that they would have done at the time was we're like, okay, well, we're in a pandemic. We've got to sit some races out. Maybe we can use this time. Maybe NASCAR can kind of release the car to the teams, right? This is what we're working with for the next year. Why don't you get a little bit of a head start? Maybe we can work some of these bugs out a little bit early. So, I mean, I would have liked to have seen that. And I'm not really sure. Obviously, I don't know what every test day looks like. Right. Maybe they had done some testing. I'm not sure. But I think that would have been beneficial to them as a sport. I know Goodyear's probably in the same boat with them. They're like, okay, we would have liked to have had more time to test these tires, more time to get, because I actually went to Dover to watch a test and they had a next gen car out before I even knew, oh, they're testing a next gen car. You can see like little differences of the car from what they run at Dover, and they had these big units on the wheels. And I guess they're for measuring things that I'm not thinking of that they, I'm sure their engineers are, but I'm sure that they were testing things that I had no idea about. Maybe Goodyear's, already looking at, maybe they've seen some of these issues early. They're trying to fix these issues. We're still kind of, we'll see where we're at.
I think a lot of the issues do that, we're going with the bigger wheel, smaller diameter of the wheel. And I think that plays a big issue, especially some of these tracks. I actually found this a little bit comical, but if you saw when there was an accident and some of the cars were stuck on the banking, they couldn't get out. No, they actually needed to be pushed away. And it's interesting because at some point NASCAR rule does state that if you need the record to push you out, you're technically out of the race. Of course, these are unforeseeable circumstances, but a lot of the guys were getting stuck. And I think that's part of the reason, because of the wheel being, that little tiny. And, I'm no mechanic or anything, but I also have to believe that the loads that these wheels are taking, with those wheels not being as thick as the old ones, may just cause them to fail quicker. I mean, it doesn't matter how much information and stuff was put into them. I think that's the reason why they're failing.
Right, and I think NASCAR actually just changed that rule where they're actually going to allow the tow truck to go ahead and help them get to pit lane. And it might be like a similar issue where you're like, okay, well, dude, you've got 5 minutes to fix this car, or you're out.
Right.
So I do believe that they announced that. I've certainly seen something on there saying that they were able to tow the car in. Obviously, if you lose a lap when they're towing you in, you lose a lap, is what it is. You got to make that up.
Right.
But I think that was the rule change, and I think it's a good rule change for. I mean, you can't help it if your car is stuck. If you just got two flat tires and your car's running, I mean, you should be able to Dale Earnhardt that thing out. And
Yes. So now, as far as I keep want to call it restrictor plate racing, but it's not that anymore. Just super speedway racing.
Sure.
How did you see the race as far as being able to push, being able to switch lanes? One thing that I hate at Talladega and Daytona is when they form a single line and just race around the top, because at that point people are just logging laps. What of that did you see? Did you like? Do you think there's potential for the future? How did you see that part of the race?
I don't really think they did a whole lot of just riding around. It was pretty much a even battle the whole way around there. Guys, getting a run and moving down and forming up lanes and trying to push each other. So I think it was a good race that way. There wasn't a whole lot of just riding around, like you saw at the end of the race last year.
Mhm.
So I'm really happy with that. There's still a lot of questions about how the dirty air is going to work around these cars. So it's.
And now that you mentioned that, that's actually one of the things that the next gen car has, is that rear diffuser underneath the rear bumper that's supposed to help with the dirty air and make it able to move around. So we'll see how that progresses. But as far as pushing, I think some of the bumpers really didn't align together as they have in the past. So I think that might be an issue. I mean, we definitely saw a lot more of manufacturer teaming, going into the pits at the same time, coming out at the same time, being able not to lose a draft. So it seems like a little bit more of team cooperation is happening, which is pretty cool. I will tell you, and I know that you didn't like this, but like, I wish we still had a little bit more of the tandem drafting. I always thought that was so cool when you get two cars together, push the entire way, go around. I wish we had a little bit more of that today, because here's the thing. Those cars were able to go side by side and do the drafting and do a little bit of pushing. But there were times during the race where they went single file, and I get it. You don't want to wreck your car because you're making a stupid move at lap 100 and there's still 100 laps to go. But I think the whole part of this restrictor plate racing is, the fans want to see people move around. And actually, that's where your buddy comes in, because they literally want drivers to see the air and navigate their way to the front and to the back. And so I liked it, but I think that we could see a little bit more about it. But I also think that maybe a lot of the drivers didn't make a lot of moves, because at that point they still didn't have enough cars for the rest of the season. So maybe they were trying to save their equipment to make sure that they had enough cars or chassis to go to the next races.
Yeah, I heard that they weren't going to take the winning Daytona car and put it in Daytona for the year because they just don't have enough. They don't have enough parts. They don't have enough pieces to get a full car. So they're going to put a car there eventually and just decal it like the real. But it's
and that's very rare, because they
Yeah.
always keep the winning car there, so you can go check it out, see it. They leave the champagne, they leave all the confetti and everything. So that'll be a weird situation not seeing a car there.
And that's what they're doing with Bubba Wallace's Talladega car. It's got all the beer and champagne and what's going over there. Hall of Fame.
So
awesome.
let me ask you about this, because we had a new winner. We had someone who we really haven't seen much. I mean, if you follow the Xfinity series, you've seen Austin Cindric kind of coming up the ranks. He won a couple Xfinity championships, and now this time because Brad Keselowski moved over to Roush to form his own team. Now Austin Cindric has come up and takes control of the number 2 Ford Mustang.
Phenomenal driver.
What are your opinions on Austin Cindric? Have you followed him? Did you like how he navigated the 500?
I think he did a really good job. I mean, even with the drama at the end, I think that he did exactly what he needed to do. Made it up to the front and blocked off another key player there. So I mean, A little bit of drama, but I think that he
Right.
did the right thing. I think he made the right moves. I think he's an excellent driver. I've seen him in Xfinity, and yeah, I'm really happy with what he decided to do there.
I agree with you. And I think we can all say, hey, it doesn't matter when you're racing, you might have teammates, you may have friends, but at the end of the day, when that checker flag is about the wave, you're in it for yourself. And so while, Bubba, come on, man, Bubba Wallace, second
I
time,
know
second place at Daytona.
that move he made at the last minute to dive under Austin Cindric. I thought he had enough momentum. I swore he was going to win.
Whoever was pushing him, if they would have gave him that one more tap, it would have sent he would have had forward momentum to kind of win this race. And it's great. I mean, we see Bubba. He's been progressing. Michael
Absolutely.
Jordan's team. How crazy is it to say that Michael Jordan owns a team in NASCAR? Yes, it's in collaboration with Denny Hamlin and whatnot. But how awesome would that have been?
It would have been amazing to see. Shut up some of the naysayers too. Would have been nice.
No, for sure. And here's the thing, when people start a new NASCAR team, they usually have a lot of struggles. They usually have a lot of, what if this, what if that, maybe not the right parts or pieces. Well, let's face it, the Michael Jordan team, or what is it, 2311, they're really an extension of Joe Gibbs Racing. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with that. And if you're paying attention to Trackhouse Racing, they are killing it. And
yes,
they're a new team as well.
Yes, they are. And they're owned by Pitbull. So now we have all these celebrity kind of / owners in the NASCAR garage, which I think it makes it a little bit more exciting. I think it gives, I don't follow football much, but I know people are always talking about the owners, ownership and all this. I like about hearing about the owners of NASCAR. So, hey, if we could bring in more owners and, more people that will bring more eyeballs to the sport, that's amazing. And because and you and I have talked about this in the past, Mark, unfortunately in NASCAR, we only have 3 manufacturers. But could you imagine, hey, in the 24 hours of Daytona, I think there was about 20 manufacturers represented. 20. Imagine if in NASCAR we just had 5, maybe 7. Like how awesome that would be to have manufacturer support from other manufacturers.
Absolutely. And then you get into the point of you've got people who have like brand loyalty as well. So, I mean, I feel like that would bring in more eyeballs to the sport if you just could get a few more OEMs to join in. And I think that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be fun. That would be fun. But so then, Mark, after that, it's the start of the West Coast swing. They went to California. And our guy Kyle Larson wins this race. The whole podcasting, we're not trying to be the news reporters or the journalists, but we do just want to talk about it and see how you thought it went. I mean, I always like Auto Club. You can go 5 wide out of a turn. Everyone's using from the bottom all the way to the wall. Great. It's very wide. It's very fast. How'd you think that race went?
So I thought the race went pretty well. I didn't catch a whole lot of it, but I did catch some of the drama we had in the middle of it.
Oh, we had drama.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on all of that real quick here. So at Daytona, you had 2 teammates clashing. You had Cindric and Blaney right there at the end running each other over. That's when I thought Bubba Wallace was going to take the win. He stuck his nose down there in the corner, and I thought he was going to take it. But, we got Austin Cindric there battling Ryan Blaney. So you had 2 teammates against each other. A little bit of drama. I'm sure there was some words said. That's fine. Then we have Auto Club Speedway. The same thing's going on a different team. You've got Kyle Larson running up the track. I guess the spotter said he didn't see him, but he ran up the track. It looked like he threw a block. Chase Elliott obviously not
chasing the wall
excited about that. Yeah, not happy about that at all. So which, I mean, you kind of understand, like maybe Kyle really didn't see him and maybe the spotter didn't know that Chase was going to go ahead and go out to the outside and try and take that position from him. But unfortunately, that's the situation they landed in. I think Elliott went a lap down not too long after that. And of course, feelings were hurt.
Well, I heard Rick Hendrick once again had the milk and cookies conversation with these 2.
Well, you do what you got to do as a team owner, I guess. But Vegas, I mean, now we're moving on from Auto Club.
Yeah.
We had our Vegas race today, and I tell you what, tires and strategy was the big deal there. But I mean, we had again another rivalry going on, but this time they raced clean, which is, thankfully no more drama in the Hendrick garage there with with the end of the race. I thought there was going to be a little bit of pushing and shoving, but they
Right.
raced very clean, Larson and Bowman. So I'm very happy with that.
But how
obviously
about
November.
right before the end of that race, the competition was between Truex and Kyle. They were going at it too.
Who raced each other very clean, and
Very,
that
very
came
clean.
down to a strategy of tires, which they were having issues with all freaking day. So I mean, they took 2 tires and it ended up paying off for them.
I wish we would have been able to see that those two go at it till the end of the race. I mean, there were 3 laps left, and then Eric Jones. Again, I think it was a tire failure also that put him in the wall.
Mhm.
Caution comes out. You got to re-rack.
And he was
everything.
doing very well in the race today, actually. And Austin Cindric, amazing, even with the spin. Still, I think he got a top 10 out of that.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch, all the issues he had this weekend. I mean, every single one, from practice to getting a new car rebuilt in a night, and then still managing to get up there and really perform. So that just shows you his driving ability with pretty much any car. I mean, he's killing it.
Man, this guy can get in and drive a freaking tractor if he needed to. Which I think I've told you, someday I want to go do a professional tractor pull, because I think those things would be so much fun. I don't know how you get into that or how you do it, but I want to go try that someday, because I just think ituld be cool to say I race a tractor.
I like to watch it. It's a good time if you go out and watch a tractor pull or truck pulls even.
I've never seen one in real life.
Oh, wow.
I've seen them on TV, so but I'm like, I want to go do this someday.
That's a blast. You definitely need to do it. There's one in the Buck, Pennsylvania. It is amazing. It's a good time.
Well, dude, the next time it happens, let me know, because I'll go there. I travel for racing.
Yeah, they do the demolition derby. They do tractor pulls.
I've never been to a demolition derby either.
You've never been to a demo derby?
No. I mean, I know what it is. I just never been to one.
You've got to like sit up in the front too, so that you get hit by all the mud.
Get hit all the debris and stuff.
It's a great time.
That's fun.
That's fun. Wouldn't you? I mean, just have health insurance if you're going to do it. That's what I'm saying.
But all right, Mark. So moving on from NASCAR, let's just touch a little bit about the WRC, just because they have a new car. They have now the hybrid plug-in cars. And for those of you who don't know, the WRC is the World Rally Championship. Mark and I race in rallies at the U.S. level, at the local level, but there is a world championship similar to like Formula One, where they go around literally the world and compete. And so now these guys have the new cars, the Toyota Yaris, the Ford Puma, and the Hyundai i20. Now, this year, what they did is the FIA actually mandated that they have an electric engine in the car, electric drivetrain, and to go into this more of a green, sustainable era. Mark, at the very first, what was your impression of having a electric or a hybrid, half electric, half gas rally car running at the most elite level? Because this is the first time we've done it at the elite level.
I think that they're looking towards having a sustainable energy. I don't want to call it a fuel cell. That's what you would call
an energy component to the car.
Sure.
Electric component to the car.
Or any, because I mean, we got to remember that hydrogen was a topic of discussion at one point.
Right.
For any kind of sustainable energy vehicles, or I don't remember what the exact term was, but alternative fuel. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, certainly we've seen a lot of the capabilities of electric vehicles is amazing. Now, what you can do with a hybrid engine or a hybrid layout,
right,
to continue getting energy and not have to worry about batteries and all that sort of thing. is helpful to what they're doing. You still like to be able to hear the sounds of the cars. That's a big thing for me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. In the heyday of Group B rallying and those cars going loud, people side to side, would you have ever thought about having anything electric in a rally car?
No, never. Absolutely not. And it's crazy to think about, but like this is not the only series that they're doing that in. I mean, Nitro next year, they're looking to do electric cars that are faster than the gas-powered supercars that you're used to seeing. I mean, they have 1,000 horsepower. It's insane.
It's crazy how fast these electric cars are. But here, let me tell you about this in the WRC cars, Mark. So I don't know how much you may or may not know. I'm a little geeky when it comes to the WRC. But so check this out, right? So when you're running the race, you're actually allowed to be on full engine mode, full motor. And have the component of the boost from the hybrid engine. But check this out, you and I have been on many a transit where you're going from one stage to the other, and you're literally driving your race car in with the city traffic, right? And we have some of these zones called the quiet zones, where the municipality, the county, the neighborhood has asked the racing organization, hey, if you're going to drive through here, we'd really appreciate it if the race cars were not as loud, as quiet as possible. You don't want to disturb us. So what the WRC cars can do now? They turn on their electric side of the engine while they're racing, whether they're driving in transit. You can't hear them at all. So now you don't have to worry. Yeah, now you don't have to worry about, going through a quiet zone. As a matter of fact, as soon as the stage ends, you got to flip the switch or the button or whatever they do to engage the full electric engine. And that way there's no pollution, no sound while you're in transit going to the next stage. That's one thing. The new thing that also exists this year is that there's 3 settings on the ECU that you can play with at the beginning of the stage. And so before the beginning of the stage, you can change it. And, of course, our engineers talk to you about what the different settings are for the ECU. And I'm sure there's different throttle mappings, different fuel maps, and all that good stuff. You can't change it during the stage, but you can pick it at the beginning of the stage. But from the way I understand it, and I chuckle at this because if you ever remember playing Gran Turismo or any of the old games, what happens with these cars is anytime you hit the brakes, it's recharging the electric motor. And so there's like a little bar, I call it a little bar, but I'm sure that they have different ways of figuring it out, where it keeps loading. And once you hit whatever the ideal thing is, now you've charged kind of like a little turbo boost. And so now you can have the electric engine aiding the combustion engine and you'll be able to go faster for a certain amount of time. So it's like a little nitro boost, but you get it as a reward for using braking and for letting go of the throttle more often. Which is also counterintuitive to a race car driver, right? Because you want to go flat out as much as you can.
Sure.
What do you think about this? Is this a joke? Is this the way of the future? What do you make of all this?
Yeah, I think it's just the way of the future. I think this is where we're headed. I know some cars from the factory do the same thing. They regen from the brakes. And I think that it's clever design. How much energy are you really getting from the brakes? It's kind of hard to tell unless you're an engineer in that department or if you've really listened to what they're doing. I think that that's where we're headed. I think that eventually you're not even going to have gas powered any rally cars. I think everything's going. I think that's where we're going as far as the future of motorsport is going to be electric. Same with NASCAR. Same with everybody. I don't think we're there yet, but I think that that's the next step.
Right. It's
my opinion.
It's that component of the electric side. And NASCAR, there's been rumors of doing something hybrid too. I think it'll be very hard to convince a NASCAR fan to go away from the V8 engines.
Ooh, yes.
I think that's going to.
Those hillbillies are not going to go for that.
I think that's going to be a very, very, very big task for NASCAR to uphold. There's been many changes in the rule systems in NASCAR from the very beginning, from back in 1948. But I think having to convince the fan base that they're going either hybrid or full electric, oh my God, I can't even believe what the pushback on that is going to be. And
I know,
but we know it's all coming.
the next gen car, I believe they said, is set up to do electric power if that's the way they decide that they're going to go.
Yeah.
It's already ready to go. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
what is the sport going to do.
And the hope is that this is also going to prompt more manufacturers to come just to see that, you can have a better stock looking car and now you can get combined with electricity. I mean, I was at the Philly Auto Show today, and the main thing in display for a lot of these manufacturers was like, hey, yeah, here's our cars, but up on a pedestal rotating or, lights on it but look at our electric car. Because now everyone's trying to compete with their electric car. So it's going to be a wave of the future. Like you said, Nitro Rallycross is already doing this with their fully electric. And it's not even a car, it's an SUV, which is another story in itself.
Yeah.
But it's going to be funny where these cars are faster than the main class. So let me ask you this, Mark. In Nitro Rallycross, or Rallycross literally for the World Rally Championship, you're going to have the supercars, which has always been the fastest cars, the A class, the elite drivers around the world. And now you're going to have this supplementary class that's going to be fully electric in this. And like you stated a little bit ago, those cars might even be faster than these. So here's the question. Sure. Do you think that we will ever have the electric cars actually turn into the main cars, the main event? Or is it, at least for the foreseeable future, the supercar is still going to hit the top of the podium, and the electric car, even though it's faster, are still going to stay A1 and A2?
Well, how about I answer that with a question? Okay.
Sure. That's impolite, but sure, we'll allow it.
So, all right, not trying to shy away from your Nitro question, but let's think of NASCAR as a whole. What if we decided that some of the manufacturers would love to come into NASCAR, but they're only coming in as an electric vehicle, but we're not ready to move Chevrolet, Toyota, Ford into full electric NASCAR?
Right.
What if we have manufacturers that come in and say, look, no, we're ready to go electric right now. Why don't we put our electric cars up against your gas cars and see where we stack up?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
So I hear you. And so I hear you, but here's my rebuttal to that.
Okay.
I have always dreamt of having a NASCAR race that's kind of like the 24 Hours of Daytona. And here's what I mean by that. You throw the Cup cars, the Xfinity cars, and the truck cars all in the same race.
Oh man, that's rough.
It is.
Yeah.
But think about this. It's no different than the 24 Hours of Daytona. You have the prototypes, and then you have the GTDs, you have the GTLs, then you have the pro cars. So you can have the slowest car, which is probably like the Ford Mustang or whatever, or even a Chevy, those Chevy Corvettes compared to the prototypes, but they're all racing at the same event. I always thought how cool would it be to have all three series racing at the same time and going in there?
You would have to cut the fields down so much because
you would. But remember, I think there was 60 cars for the 24 hours at the starting lineup. So maybe you do 20, 20, 20. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
they would have to have a qualifying thing too to make sure that they're not saying that it's unfair advantage that they're getting in.
But you just made me think of another thing.
Okay.
Going off of your idea. Two ideas. And you tell me which one you think might be better, or maybe you come up with your own idea.
We're throwing ideas around. All right, it was good.
All right. One, we make the truck series fully electric. That way, no one really, yes, there's people that cares about the truck series, but no one really follows it as a national touring event.
Sure.
So we start them as the original full electric series. And then Toyota can develop whatever for them. Or two, which is actually what I thought you were going to say before you said putting the electric and the motor car at the same time, because I don't think anyone would go for that, just because the electric cars would smoke the gas cars.
No. We don't know that. We don't know that for sure. Sure.
Have you driven a Tesla? Because I know that.
but do they have the longevity? That's the question.
That's true. That's true.
We're moving into strategy again.
But where I thought you were going to go with is, how about we do it like Nitro Rallycross and create a fourth touring series, and you leave all three how it is, and you make a fourth one that's just electric. And you don't do a full race. You know, if it's the Daytona 500 with these cars, you just do the Daytona 250 race in half. You know, if it's a Bristol, an exhibition.
Sure.
And do it just with those electric cars. I think that would be a way to kind of slowly push people towards like, oh, maybe it's even a better event. I don't know.
Let's breathe life into this, right? Like just like you said, you know, exhibition event. Let's do the Gatorade duels next year as electric vehicles. You know what I'm saying?
I say we call NASCAR president right now, dude. I think it's $1 billion idea right now,
dude. Phelps, like we need to get this going, like for real. Where's my paycheck?
Where's my cut? No, I think this is actually very, very good stuff. But you shied away from what I asked you, and I'm going to pressure you for an answer. Do you ever think that the electric class could take over the supercar class? Or no, is the superclass class is always going to be just the top class?
So I think that they could, and my reasoning for that is strictly based on the fact that when you're doing rallycross, they are very short runs. I mean, you're talking 10 laps at the most that I've ever seen in a rallycross for nitro or any rallycross here in the States anyway.
Right.
You're talking very short runs. How quickly can they get batteries changed in and out and charged or whatever they need to do? I mean, that's up to their engineers.
Right.
So, and how long is that going to last? Are they going to be running out of charge there on the last lap? Are they going to be giving it because I know these cars are going to have over 1,000 horsepower.
Right.
My next thing is the rallycross vehicle that they're looking to use is kind of a one-off vehicle. It's not really like a road car. How are the OEMs going to react to that? Are they going to build their own that's designed on this platform?
So I actually have insider information on this, Mark.
Okay, that's great. Well, that's what we're here for.
The reason that I know a little bit more about this is when I went to the PRI event this year in Indianapolis, the Performance Racing Institute. Yeah. I went down there to kind of check out what the newest and latest is in racing. They actually had it there, and it's the FCX-1. That's the name of the car. It's actually built in conjunction with what's that company out of Sweden? OMSE. Yeah, OMSE. And a Spanish company whose collaboration to build this car. And so I was actually able to have a conversation with the guys there. One, because I was super interested in the car. I mean, in the future, assuming funding and stuff comes into place, I would love to drive the electric car because I think it would be super fun. But outside of that, I had a conversation with them, and I said, like, so what's the deal? Are there any manufacturers that are already involved? You know, the season's next year, although they still haven't dropped the schedule even till today. They still haven't dropped the schedule. But my question was, so what's the deal? Are any manufacturers involved? So he had told me that there's already a number of teams that have bought a number of these cars. One of them includes Subaru, Vermont Motorsports. So I don't know, Vermont Sports Car. I don't know if they're going to be rebadging it as maybe an Outback, something like that, which I still think that'd be a little bit silly, but if that's a demographic that they're looking for. But here's what they also told me. They're like that Nitro actually already created front and rear end facades for all types of manufacturers. So, for example, they didn't specifically say this manufacturer, but let's say that Toyota wants to get in it and they want to use the RAV4, because at the end of the day, this FCX-1 is the body of an SUV. So let's say Toyota wants to use the RAV4 in this type of racing. So they have pre-molded the Toyota RAV4 front end, so they can make it look like the front end from a RAV4, and then the tail end of a RAV4. But it would technically be a spec car. The only thing that changes is the front end and the rear end. And the same thing, if someone wants to use, I don't know, well, the Ford Mach-E already kind of has a car, but they would kind of fall into that, or whatever other SUV you want to use to. And so they're saying that manufacturers are on board already. He wouldn't tell me who. The only one he told me was Subaru. But so these cars are built to be able to change the front ends to kind of look to whatever car and manufacturer wants it to look like.
So essentially, it's a car of tomorrow.
Basically, yes.
Essentially,
yes. When the car of tomorrow came out, and it was supposed to be that front end to kind of just mirror what a stock car looks like, Although I
The
think
COT.
this will
Yeah.
look a little bit nicer. And they did tell me that they were already proactive and that they already had built not the actual cars, but they have built designs to show manufacturers like, hey, this is what an Audi version of this would look like, or
Sure.
a Ford version of this. And I think that they are going to get some manufacturers that are like, okay, this is cool. In the great scheme of things, running a Nitro Rallycross car doesn't cost as much as running a NASCAR season.
True.
So I think some manufacturers will jump on board. And I don't know, you're a big Subaru guy. What Subaru SUV would you say, oh, it'd be cool if that car became the Nitro Rallycross electric car?
I mean, I really like the Forester, but I'm sure they're going to use that new Soul Torrent they've got out. So
That's right.
Vermont Sports Car they already posted something with the original version of that car, the electric car. I don't remember the brand name of it, but they didn't have it bodied up like whatever car they're going to body it up as.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
sure
did
they'll
see
make
that
a big reveal.
Yeah, I'm sure they showed the car that they had one, so I'm sure that it's like, okay, yeah, and I'm sure they have more than one. Absolutely.
Yeah,
they're not just gonna buy one; they're gonna have a backup for sure.
And then this year, Nitro is supposed to go international too. So I'm sure that that'll bring. I mean, think about this. And you know, not to make the Nitro Rallycross story any longer than this, but at Dakar this year, Audi came out with their first purpose-built Dakar rally car, fully electric, and it was their way of saying, "Hey, we want to see how we can compete versus the combustion vehicles." As anything, they had their growing pains, they had issues, battery issues, suspension issues, but guess what? Those cars won a couple stages in the sand, through the dunes, and everything. And so, what I'm saying with all this is that Audi was already looking at doing this. What is Audi doing with Ken Block? They're giving him a fully electric car to go do his hooning around. So everyone that is in the automotive space is looking to do these electric car things because it's the wave of the future and it's what they think the consumer wants
Absolutely.
to see. So what's not to say that Audi actually comes out with a Nitro Rallycross car and they have Ken drive it because he's technically their driver now. So there's a lot of possibilities out there. A lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah, and with gas prices the way they are, electric should be the thing coming up here soon, you know.
For sure. So I think Mark, now it's time to talk about our racing situation. This time around, it's more like your racing situation. And why don't you tell us what is going on next weekend? 2 weekends from now.
2 weekends, but
in Missouri.
So we are going to be running the 100 Acre Wood Rally. I've done it a few times. Here we go. I actually brought my trophy from the last
show
time.
And tell.
That's right. Well, you know, it's not the show and tell. I have the show me rally is what it is called in the summer. That trophy's laying around here somewhere too, or second place. But this is a little third place trophy. I don't know where the other one is. It's in the back room somewhere. But yeah, I've been getting ready to go, working out every single day for the most part. Today was a rest day because I am dying. I'm so sore. New gear. I bought a new helmet for the event.
There you go. Look at that beauty.
Carbon Stilo. I had the DES model and it was a lot heavier than this. I was very impressed with this. This actually just came out. The Venti, I think one of a few people in the States to have it.
Right.
The big deal with this is they're going to start going wireless. So we are ready to go wireless. The units aren't here available in the States yet, so it can use just a regular cord, but at least I'm ready to go for the future.
Ready to go for the future. Hey man, it's part of this whole future. So Mark, tell us real quick, what is it? So the last time you and I raced was at this point about 2 years ago. We raced at the New York Rally. So that was fun. We came back from a long hiatus. This time around, you know, we went through another hiatus of having COVID around, having situations that didn't allow us to do, and not just COVID, life, work, family, a lot of things. And so it's been a while since you've been in the car. And I keep saying you because I should say this time around you're racing with my brother in the 100 Acre Wood Rally. And so I'll be there to support and help. But I more want to talk to you and your mindset of, you know, going back, sitting back in a race car, and what goes through your preparation mentally? You talked a little bit about the physically, but what goes into the preparation of being ready that you're set to go do a race? Is there anything that you do beforehand? Is there anything that you have a ritual as doing, or what gets you ready to go racing in 2 weeks from now?
That's a hard question, actually, because it really depends on the event too. So, like when we're going to STPR, like I'm excited because I mean it's all the same people that we really know really well, right?
Right.
100 Acre Wood, it's a little different because you're not used to seeing some of these people. You don't know a lot of the same folks because you got
How
to
about that
imagine.
for our sponsor, though?
It is true. I mean, but we're on a different side of the country for the
Right.
most part. A lot of the people that we know from Wellsboro, they're local, right? So
Right.
we know those guys really well. So preparing for the event out there is a little different because you're like, oh man, I'm going to see this person, I'm going to see that person. Like, oh, it's been so long, and then so it's exciting. 100 Acre Woods you're a little bit more nervous because you're the home state of your main sponsor, so you want to perform well. You're making sure you've got everything ready to go, and that can be stressful depending on what your list looks like. How much do I need to get done in this certain amount of time? There's a lot of travel involved. STPR's obviously a lot closer to Missouri. We're going to be driving to Missouri for 100 Acre Woods, so there's some logistics there we got to work out. So you just try and get everything listed out that you need. That's kind of the preparation there. You want to make sure that you've got everything you need in the car for the day. Recce's going to be the big thing. I know that there's talk of them doing 2-pass recce over 2 days, that's a lot of recce.
Right.
Recce's, in my opinion, recce's the hardest part because it's the most boring part, but it's the most necessary part
Right.
of rally. So yeah, drinking lots of Red Bulls, sugar free because we don't want to gain any weight. Little Dramamine, and yeah. So I mean, that's how we prep for me anyway.
Right.
As much sleep as I can possibly get. I mean, it's a rally weekend. I'm not going to sleep that much.
Right. So there is a unique factor about this race, that happens. And, for the most part, when we've raced, we race during the day, but 100 Acre Wood has a night component. So where we're out racing in the stages in the pitch of darkness, there's usually no light. The only light provided is either by your light bar on your car or by people out there building fires in the woods. Which is awesome, except when you have flashes in your face. That's not as awesome. Although when you get the pictures, that's pretty cool. But so my question to you is, what is your mentality doing a night stage versus doing a day stage? Is there anything different that you need to do at night? Is there anything different that you do doing a stage in the day versus doing a stage at night?
So you just want to make sure you've got enough light so you can see your route book, but you don't want to have so much light that you're distracting your driver if you're co-driving. And then if you're a driver, you don't want to have so much light going down road that it's creating a glare on your windshield. So it's kind of a balance there, but you also want to make sure your driver is comfortable in his or her situation too. So I mean, some folks do better at night, and I think you are one of the people who say you like driving at night better because I mean, it's strange because you would think that you wouldn't have as much confidence going into the dark because it's like, okay, well, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
But you'd be amazed at what these light bars can put
but
out.
It's for me, I can tell you it's the fact that I can't see stuff that makes me go faster, because when you're driving during the day, you might see this drop off or this fall off over here, and you're like, all right, maybe I don't want to go as fast, or I don't want to risk it as much. But at night, where I can I have literal tunnel vision to what the light bars show me, maybe it gives you a little bit of ability to be like, okay, I can push it a little bit more because I can't see that big drop off. Not to say that that's the safest thing to do, but I have seen myself that at night I can usually perform better. And the good thing is that when you're running these, you trust your notes, you trust your co-driver, you trust your instincts. But the good thing is that usually 9 times out of 10, it's the same stages that you ran during the day as the ones that you're running at night. So you have some sort of familiarity with what's going on what the corners are. You can't memorize every single corner. It's not like NASCAR, that turn 1, 2, 3, and 4 is going to keep coming.
Sure.
But you have some similarities with what it is. But by that point, the co-driver has corrected or added to some of the notes. And so you have an idea of what's going on. So that's why I think I perform better at night. But do you have, I'm not going to say you're not afraid, because obviously you've been in the car with me. And so you don't, you could do that. But would you say, is there any more of a fear factor? Not fear. Is there any more of a stress factor doing it at night versus doing it during the day?
For me, not really. Night and day is it's the same deal. As long as you can see down the road, then we're good. My main thing is when you have now I've ran into this situation with your brother, actually, I believe it was, where we had somebody knocking on our window because they thought that we were using our light bar when we weren't. And so those are the kinds of things you got to also worry about too. Like when you're transiting, you got to make sure that you've got enough light down road to see. Sometimes it gets really dark in some of those transit areas.
Yeah.
We had somebody knocking on our window, like threatening us one year. That was crazy. But yeah, that's insane. But yeah, I mean, that's the only real worry that I have. I don't want to be going down the road blinding anybody, but we do want to be able to see.
Right.
But as far as the night stages are concerned, as long as I feel like we can instill confidence and just go in and perform, then I'm great. Like it doesn't affect me either way, because usually we have enough light in the car that I'm not affecting the driver, but I have enough that I can see, like, look,
Right.
dude, I've got the notes. You don't got to worry about that. So that's how I feel.
Right.
I'm not really upset. Not really. I will say that sometimes, like, being in a car, but this is just being in a car in general. Like, I'm getting older, I got some kids, you worry about, like, dude, there's always danger in
The
the
what
car, right?
ifs. Yeah.
The what ifs. So you get the what ifs, and but for the most part, you just gotta kind of like swallow that back. We're good. Let's just do this. Look, we've done our homework here. We got our recce. We're ready to go.
For
So
sure.
you just got to be there to perform.
No, sounds good. Sounds good. And yeah, I definitely wish both of you guys the best of luck. Being safe is the number one priority. Winning anything is secondary in this sport where, well, we've experienced it. You roll and you may not see an ambulance for another hour or two in the cold and rain. So it's definitely unlike any other motorsport in the world. And I
It
definitely
wasn't
commend you
cold.
guys for
It
that.
was just rainy. It was rainy and hot.
So Mark, I think I've hit everything I want to talk about. Is there anything you want to talk about to close this out?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Bleeding Tarmac and Billy Petro. They've been helping me out with some gear and getting things. Charlie Tamaris is lending me a suit for this event, and Panda Motorworks is coming out again to support us, and they've been amazing over the last few years. So that's really all I wanted to say.
I concur with Mark, everything that he said. Definitely check out Bleeding Tarmac. Billy out there, he's always been a good friend. He's local to us here in the tri-state area, I guess you could say. So check them out, give them a call, check them out. Check out their website. Always great pricing, always great service, which is what you want. You want to be able to have the service that Billy provides. And Billy, I'm sure I'll be hitting you up for some gear in the future. And then also, to all the guys at Panda, Chris, the head of Panda Motorworks, he's been with us for a couple of years now, in the good times and in the bad. And, it's always, like Mark said, going to the home event of your title sponsor is always a big deal. You always want to perform, win if possible, but at least have a great showing. And so to Chris, to Billy, to Charlie, because Charlie, you're helping us put Mark on the road. So thank you to everyone. And hey, Mark, we'll be here back next week. Hopefully we're going to make this a weekly event, maybe bi-weekly, depending what it is. We'll try to get some footage from 100 Acre Wood. Hopefully you guys, it's in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, hopefully we'll have some stories for you about what happened, what transpired during that weekend. And we'll have more stories about the racing world in general. We definitely want to start talking a little bit more about cars, what cars have come out. I'm actually starting to look for a brand new car, so maybe I can get some help from you guys, Mark, and see what I can drive, what my next car can be, and yeah, we'll go from that, Mark. So, Mark, you have a good evening here, and I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll
man.
be in touch next week, and we'll see what other topics in the area of racing, motorsports, cars we have to talk about. So, Mark, have a good one.
How you do, same, buddy.
All right, bye.